The time by Carrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The Business News Headlines is brought to you by CBX Wealth Management, making more possible. MSME growth, green finance partnerships, and a brighter global economic outlook. Hello and welcome to CBX Business News for Tuesday, July 29, 2025. I'm Yanil Wood. Thanks for joining us. Coming up in the newscast locally, the Inter-American Development Bank is recognizing the Big E program's crucial role in driving MSME expansion across Jamaica. On the regional front, CARICOM and Afrexim Bank deepen economic ties with new green finance facility and trade integration plans. And on the global stage, the IMF raises the global growth forecasts for 2025 and 2026, citing stronger activity and softer U.S. tariffs. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories and more right after this break.
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the QMAX possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why QMAX Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
So much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
The local news is brought to you by Darriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with renewed international support for Jamaica's entrepreneurship landscape. Micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs, remain vital contributors to local job creation and economic growth. Now, one of the country's flagship development programs is receiving fresh backing from international partners. The Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, is reaffirming its commitment to the local MSME sector, highlighting the Boosting Innovation, Growth and Entrepreneurship Ecosystems Big E program as a critical engine for business expansion and economic inclusion. IDB's Chief of Operations for the Caribbean region, Carissa Ribeiro, says the initiative remains pivotal in helping MSMEs scale operations and boost competitiveness. She was speaking recently at the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce's MSME Linkages Day, held at the University of Technology in Kingston.
To date, over 1,400 SMSEs and 50 ecosystems institutions having received direct assistance under the program. The beneficiary SMSEs recording an average of 20 increase in sales. Biggie has had a real impact and has played a key role in the expansion of several SMSEs. Through Biggie, we support 8 national SMSEs roadshow, as Ms. Sanchez was saying. These engage over 2,000 SMSEs, including 1,800 attendees and 250 exhibitors in SME Village, and still more to come.
She noted that coordinated policies, targeted support, and sustained investment are essential to unlocking the sector's full potential and driving inclusive economic growth. Ribeiro added that the IDB Group, in collaboration with the Government of Jamaica, intends to deepen its support for MSMEs.
Looking ahead, IDB Group will continue to leverage its strengths to catalyze great private sector participation and deliver integrated public-private solutions across the group. In partnership with the Government of Jamaica and other stakeholders, the IDB Group will deepen support for MSMEs in 3 key areas: strengthening the national quality infrastructure for competitiveness and green growth, supporting policy framework in the areas of SMEs, entrepreneurship, and service sectors.
IDB's Chief of Operations for the Caribbean region, Carissa Ribeiro. Biggie, which was launched in September 2020, is a 5-year program spearheaded by the Development Bank of Jamaica, DBJ. It is financed through a US $25 million loan from the IDB and a US $8.2 million grant from the European Union. The Jamaica Money Market Brokers Limited, JMMB, posted a net profit of $3.08 billion for the year ended March 31, 2025. This marks a significant increase of 219.4% compared to the Jamaican $963.3 million earned during the same period last year. Net operating revenue also rose to $6.63 billion, surpassing the $5.24 billion earned in financial year 2024. In a recent release, JMMB's chairman, Dr. Archibald Campbell, highlighted that the company and its subsidiaries continue to perform well despite persistent challenges in both global and local operating environments. He added that these financial results reinforce that the company's diversification strategy and its commitment to deepening and solidifying client partnerships remain key competitive advantages in the market. Meanwhile, JMMB's shareholders' equity stood at Jamaican $32.18 billion for fiscal year ended March 31, up from $28.26 billion in the prior year. Earnings per stock unit, or EPS, rose sharply to $189 from $55 in financial year 2024. And total assets decreased slightly to Jamaican $310.94 billion compared to $315.53 billion recorded at the end of March last year. In all the news, Grace Kennedy Limited, GK, has maintained strong investor confidence. That's according to the latest ratings affirmed by the Caribbean Information and Credit Rating Services, CARICRIS. The rating agency has reaffirmed Grace Kennedy's regional scale ratings at CARI A for both local and foreign currency, while the Jamaican national scale ratings remain at Jamaican AA, also for local and foreign currency. The ratings also cover the group's bond issue of up to $3 billion Jamaican dollars, which remains at CARI A on the regional scale and Jamaican AA nationally for local currency. The ratings are underpinned by GK's strong market position, supported by GK's strong brand, deep roots in food trading, and efficient integrated operations. Carrie Chris also cites GK's sound risk management and stable financial performance. However, the group's high revenue dependence on Jamaica, 57.8% in 2024, remains a risk factor. Meanwhile, the outlook remains stable, with Carrie Chris expecting GK to meet its debt obligations over the next 12 to 15 months and sustain growth through expansion and partnerships. Demand for GK's product is also expected to stay strong, driven by new offerings and wider distribution. Notwithstanding this, the group's performance may be adversely affected by lingering geopolitical pressures and impending trade tensions with high levels of policy uncertainty. And from GK, we go to the Bank of Jamaica for foreign currency trading news. At the end of Tuesday's currency trading, the US dollar is selling for $161.31, the Canadian for $118.17, and the pound sterling for $216.18. The going rate for the euro is $186.38. Next, we go to trading news from the Jamaica Stock Exchange. 109 stocks traded on the JSE Tuesday, of which 56 advanced, 36 declined, and 17 traded firm. Cygnus Real Estate Finance US dollar, Pulse Investments, Radio Jamaica, and Sterling Investments US dollar led the winners, while the losers were led by Blue Power Group, Jamaica Broilers, Express Catering, and NCB Financial Group. The main index advanced by 1,880.87 points, or 0.62%, to close at 305,991.99. The junior market index also advanced, but by 16.16 points, or 0.48%, to close at 3,411.36. In company news today, NCB Financial Group, NCBFG, announced that it has successfully priced its senior secured notes issuance in the international securities market. The transaction, finalized on July 24, involves a total issuance size of US $225 million with an 11% coupon. The deal is expected to close on July 31, which is this Thursday. NCBFG says the notes will be rated by both Standard & Poor's, S&P Ratings, Services, and Fitch Ratings. And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by Carrie Chris, Regional Ratings, Global Standard. Today's Market Education Feature will be looking at the term free alongside shipping, otherwise known as FAS. Free alongside shipping, or FAS, is a contractual term commonly used in international export trade. It requires the seller to deliver the goods to a specified port, placing them alongside a designated vessel to facilitate easy loading and transfer. Contracts between buyers and sellers for the international shipment of goods specify important details, such as the delivery time and location, payment terms, and which party is responsible for freight and insurance costs. The agreement also defines the exact point when the risk of loss transfers from the seller to the buyer. The Market Education Feature was brought to you by Carrie Chris, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for Market Education Feature and the end of the local segment. Please stick around. The regional business news is up next. The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
Hi, I'm Nielsen Rose, host of Let's Talk Stocks, reminding you that health is indeed wealth and time is really money. Why not spend a little time with us? Weekday mornings, 9 to 9:30 a.m. for your daily dose of business, economic, and investment insights.
Welcome back. We go now to news from across the region. The Caribbean Community CARICOM and the African Export-Import Bank, Afrexim Bank, have unveiled a financing facility targeting green and climate-resilient projects across the Caribbean. The initiative, developed in partnership with the CARICOM Development Fund, will support infrastructure and energy projects aligned with Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Speaking at the 4th Annual Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, ACTIF, in Grenada on Monday, CARICOM Secretary General Dr. Carla Barnett says a formal agreement is being finalized to strengthen trade and financial ties between Africa and CARICOM member states.
The CARICOM Development Fund and Afrexim Bank signed a mandate letter to commence work to design and launch a green, resilient, and sustainable facility. I emphasize the need for this type of global partnership to develop mechanisms that foster inclusive growth, sustainable development, and economic and climate resilience.
The Green Facility complements other financial integration efforts underway, including the development of a Caribbean payment and settlement system modeled on Africa's PAPS, designed to ease cross-border transactions for businesses of all sizes.
Another priority area is technology transfer, a key example being the development of a Caribbean payment and settlement system based on the successful Pan-African payment and settlement system. This mechanism will make it easier for large and small enterprises in both markets to conduct business efficiently.
CARICOM Secretary General Dr. Carla Barnett. Dominica is stepping up its agricultural trade game, advancing efforts to strengthen its export footprint and tap into high-value international markets. In a major breakthrough, the country completed 3 successful shipments totaling 61,500 pounds of plantains to Miami during the 2024-2025 era, marking a key milestone in its push to penetrate the U.S. market. Presenting the national budget for fiscal year 2025-2026, Minister of Finance and Economic Development Dr. Irvin McIntyre announced that Dominica will actively pursue new export opportunities in the U.S. and U.K., with a focus on high-demand crops like plantains, tachines, and ginger.
For fiscal year 2025-2026, Dexter will continue to forge ahead to increase our market share in Tortola and St. Thomas, while pursuing opportunities in the US and UK, particularly for dashing, plantain, and ginger.
Minister McIntyre also revealed that the government disbursed over $25 million in low-interest loans to some 500 MSMEs across the country during the past fiscal year.
As of June 30, 2025, 549 MSMEs received a total of EC 25.8 million in low-interest loans from the aid bank, supporting expansion, equipment purchases, and job creation.
Dominica's Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Dr. Irvin McIntyre. In other news, Eric Solis Marketing Limited is reporting a standout 220% jump in profit after tax to Trinidadian $6.3 million for its financial year ended April 30, 2025, driven by its acquisition of Business Equipment and Interiors International Limited, BEI, and the strategic deployment of capital raised through an oversubscribed IPO. The company more than doubled its equity year-on-year, climbing from TT 14.7 million to 30.2 million TT dollars, while total assets expanded to TT $52.7 million. In its audited financial statements for the year ended April 30, Chairman Angela Prasad credited the strong performance to trusted tech and tailored solutions, alongside the 3-month contribution from BEI, a newly acquired distributor of Kyocera equipment, Dam's office furniture, and commercial flooring from Target and Altro. Solis went public on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange TTSC SME market on September 9 last year, attracting over 150 first-time investors. Funds raised were fully deployed to acquire BEI, solidifying its position in the regional business technology and interiors market. Meanwhile, the board has approved a final dividend of 12 cents per share, bringing the total dividend for the year to 20 cents. Shareholders on record as of August 8, 2025 will receive payment on September 1 this year. Now to trading news from the TTSC. 23 securities traded on the TTSC Tuesday, of which 10 advanced, 4 declined, and 9 traded firm. Leading the winners were MedCorp Limited, Calypso Macro Index Fund, Prestige Holdings, and Grace Kennedy, while the losers were Guardian Holdings, First Citizens Group Financial Holdings, Republic Financial Holdings, and Scotiabank TNT. Other results include the All TNT Index declining by 0.35 to close at 1,458.70. The Composite Index advancing by 0.44 to close at 1,007.95. And the Cross-Listed Index also advanced, but by 0.18 to close at 73.60. The SME Index advanced by 4.02 to close at 100.10. And we take a quick break, but please stay with us. Nielsen Rose is up next with the International Business News segment.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. In the international news today, the U.S. trade deficit in goods shrank by $10.4 billion in June, falling to $86 billion, well below the market expectations of $98.4. This marks a return towards April revised 20-month low, following a record high deficit of $162 billion in March, which was driven by importers rushing to stock up ahead of anticipated EUF tariffs. Imports dropped 4.2% to $264 billion, the lowest since March 2024. The decline was led by consumer goods, down 12.4% to $58 billion. Industrial supplies were down 5.5% to $48 billion, while capital goods, relatively stable, up 0.6% to $91 billion. Exports edged down 0.6% to $178.2 billion, with mixed performances. Capital goods were up 4.7% to 60 billion, while fresh foods, feeds and beverages were up 4% to 14 billion, and industrial supplies declined to 60 billion. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has revised its global economic growth forecast slightly upward, projecting 3% growth in 2025 and 3.1% in 2026. These updates, 0.2 percentage points higher for 2025 and 0.1 for 2026, reflect stronger than expected early economic activity, milder U.S. tariff hikes, improved financial conditions driven by a weaker U.S. dollar, and fiscal expansion in several major economies. Despite the improved outlook, the IMF cautions that risks remain tilted to the downside. A resurgence in tariffs or a failure to secure lasting trade agreements could weigh on global growth. Key country forecasts include the United States up 1.9% in 2025 and 2% in 2026, the Eurozone 1% and 1.2%, while in the United Kingdom it's 1.2 and 1.4%, and over in China 4.8 and 4.2%, while in Japan 0.7 and 0.5 are the revised numbers. Meanwhile, global inflation is expected to ease to 4.2% in 2025 and 3.6% in 2026, though it is projected to remain above the target in the U.S. Shares of Novo Nordisk tumbled as much as 26%, closing down 20% after the pharmaceutical giant announced a surprise leadership change and cut its full-year outlook. The company cited weaker than expected U.S. sales growth in the second half of 2025 for its flagship weight loss drug Wegovy and for its diabetes drug Ozempic as the main reason for the downgrade. The market reaction was further fueled by the unexpected ouster of COO Lars Fruergaard Jensen in May. He will be succeeded by Messier Mike Duslar, a longtime executive of the company. The dual blow of leadership uncertainty and reduced guidance rattled investors, raising concerns about the company's growth trajectory in the competitive weight loss and diabetes treatment markets. United Healthcare shares came under pressure after the company issued 2025 earnings guidance well below Wall Street's expectations, citing rising medical costs in its Medicare Advantage plans. The disappointing outlook adds to a series of recent setbacks for the healthcare giant, which operates the nation's largest insurer and is often seen as a bellwether for the broader insurance industry. In contrast, Boeing reported a significant improvement in its financial performance. The aerospace company narrowed its quarterly loss to $176 million for the 3 months ending June 30th, down from $1.09 billion a year earlier. The rebound was driven by a surge in aircraft deliveries, marking the highest quarterly output since 2018. And those were your international business stories. After the break, join Yanil for your recap.
I'm trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
I'm also trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
Start a conversation with the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Check jamstockx.com for information and a list of registered stockbrokers. You can also call the Jamaica Stock Exchange at 876-967-3271 for information on how to begin. I am achieving my financial goals.
I'm achieving my financial goals.
Welcome back, and now the recap. IDB affirms Big E's role in Jamaican MSME growth. And regionally, CARICOM and Afrexim Bank strengthen economic ties with new green finance facility. On the international scene, IMF raises global growth forecasts for 2025 and 2026 on stronger activity. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of Nielsen Rose and the entire production team, I'm Yanil Wood, wishing for you a splendid evening, and thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.